Welcome to a journey through time, a voyage of pixels, colours and imagination. In the world of video games, there's an art form that has been captivating gamers for decades: game box art. From the early days of arcade cabinets to the home console revolutions, game box art has always been a gateway into the extraordinary worlds we've explored on screens big and small. It's more than just packaging. It's a window into the promises of adventure, challenge, and wonder. The history of game box art is a journey that mirrors the evolution of the gaming industry itself. In this exploration, we will traverse through decades of gaming history, from the simple, iconic imagery of the 8-bit era into the breathtaking digital world of today's gaming masterpieces. So grab your controller, power up your console, and let's embark on an artistic odyssey. Join us as we unravel the history of game box art through the ages. Let's turn back the clock to a time where video games were in their infancy. It was the 1970s, and the arcade scene was beginning to take shape. Game box art as we know it today was in its earliest form. During this era, the concept of game box art wasn't fully realised. The arcade classic Space Invaders lifted the gaming industry to a new height, with the introduction of what could be argued as the first storytelling concept. Although it was simply aliens are attacking and you need to defend the planet, something about games with meaning excited gamers. It was during this time that the importance of artwork was realised. Arcade cabinets would then feature abstract artwork that hinted at the excitement that lay within. As the first home consoles emerged, like the Atari 2600, game box art followed a similar approach. Atari's first graphic designer, George Opperman, was given the task of forming a team of artists to create cover art that would ignite the imagination of gamers. For example, Atari 2600's game Centipede showcased a fantastic illustration on their boxes. These visuals aimed to ignite the player's imagination, as the limited technology of the time couldn't provide the immersive experiences that we enjoy today. Another early gem that stood out was Pac-Man on the Atari. This iconic box art featured its recognisable maze and, of course, Pac-Man himself. It was a significant departure from the usual minimalism that came before it. Arcade classics like Space Invaders and Donkey Kong also left their mark with the game box art. While the cabinet art was more prominent, it began to hint of a potential for storytelling through visuals. Game box art in the 70s and 80s laid the foundation for what was to come. It was a time when the medium was finding its feet, experimenting with design, and taking its first steps towards being the captivating art form that we know today. As the 80s dawned, the gaming landscape was about to undergo a transformation. The era of 8-bit gaming had arrived, bringing with it a new approach to game box art that would capture the imaginations of the generation. Nintendo's NES, a pioneer in home gaming, played a crucial role in the evolution of game box art. Titles like Super Mario Bros. And Donkey Kong set the standard for the 8-bit era. Pixel art became a defining element of this era's game box art. Artists skillfully used limited palettes and low-resolution graphics to convey vibrant and memorable characters and scenes. Many 8-bit box art designs aimed to depict gameplay elements, giving the players a glimpse of what they could expect. The cover of Mega Man, for example, showcased the main character armed with his gun, going on his adventure. The 8-bit era was also a time of memorable character art. Icons like Mario became instantly recognisable through their box art representations. setting the stage for the enduring legacies of the franchise. It's important to note that this era saw the influence of Japanese box art on Western audiences. Some games like Castlevania featured striking Japanese artwork that captivated players. These artistic choices sometimes led to differences in box art between regions. The juxtaposition of Western and Japanese designs offered a fascinating glimpse into the cultural interpretations. As we enter the 90s, a new era of gaming was in full swing. The 16-bit generation had arrived with consoles like the Super Nintendo and Sega Mega Drive, or Genesis to our American friends. And the game box art was about to level up. Game box art for these platforms was marked by a dramatic evolution. Titles like Super Metroid and Sonic the Hedgehog demonstrated a newfound sophistication in design. Character-driven box art remained a prominent feature, but with 16-bit technology, characters appeared more detailed and expressive. These designs were pivotal in establishing characters as gaming icons. Many 16-bit box art designs moved beyond static images and began to tell a visual story. Breath of Fire titles, for instance, featured complex scenes that hinted at epic adventures. Comic book art also had a profound influence on this era's game box art. Games like X-Men and Spider-Man embraced a dynamic comic book aesthetic that appealed to the fans of the medium. Towards the late 90s, the rise of pre-rendered 3D graphics impacted game box art. Titles like Tomb Raider showcased realistic 3D rendered characters and environments, blending gaming and cinema. The 16-bit and beyond era marked a significant milestone in the game box art history. It was a time where the box art began to encapsulate the immersive experiences that gamers could expect. But as we progress into the next section, we'll explore how the gaming industry shifted into the realm of 3D graphics and how this transformed and influenced game box art. As we venture further into the late 90s, we find the gaming industry is on the brink of a revolution. The transition to 3D graphics was underway, and it would reshape the world of game box art. Titles like Super Mario 64, Crash Bandicoot, and Tomb Raider embodied this transformation. These games embraced 3D worlds and characters, and their box art had to reflect this new dimension. The challenge for artists was to capture the essence of 3D gaming on a two-dimensional box. It meant adapting to the new possibilities that 3D art brought. Box art in the late 90s and early 2000s embraced a range of approaches. Some designs captured the cinematic feel of games, while others opted for a more minimalistic look. This era marked a significant turning point in the game box art. With the rise of digital art and 3D rendering, the medium was on the cusp of yet another transformation. As the late 90s and early 2000s dawned, the gaming industry was about to experience an explosion of storytelling and cinematic adventures. The multimedia era was upon us, and it left its mark on game box art. Games like Kingdom Hearts, Silent Hill, and Grand Theft Auto were at the forefront of this movement. These titles weren't just games, they were epic narratives, and their box art had to reflect that. The box art of this era often took on a cinematic aesthetic. Dynamic compositions, dramatic lighting, and detailed character artwork became the norm. Emotions and drama were now prominently featured on the game box art. Characters' expressions and body language conveyed the rich storytelling that awaited players. Box art from this era told a story itself, offered a glimpse into the cinematic world that gamers were about to enter. It was a time of artistic innovation and visual storytelling. The Multimedia Era also continued to harness pre-rendered 3D graphics. Titles like Resident Evil utilised 3D rendered characters to create a sense of fear and tension. Comparing early 3D box art to the Multimedia Era showcases how artists adapted and improved in conveying three-dimensional elements. However, the transition into the digital age was imminent, and it would bring new challenges and opportunities for game box art. As we enter the 21st century, the gaming landscape is unrecognisable from its early days. The modern age of gaming has ushered in a new era of game box art. Box art in the modern age has adapted to the realities of digital distribution and online marketplaces. No longer constrained by physical retail shelves, box art now serves as a dual purpose. First, it remains a visual representation of the game's identity, showcasing the characters, world, and style. The Witcher 3, Red Dead Redemption 2, and The Last of Us exemplify this approach. But in the digital age, box art extends beyond the physical package. It appears as banners on digital storefronts, social media posts, and promotional materials. Modern game box art reflects a wide range of styles and artistic directions, from the bold and striking to the subtle and atmospheric. It captures the diversity of the gaming experiences. The modern age also sees the boom of indie games that have their own classic art styles. Let's not forget the impact of mobile gaming in the modern age. Mobile games often take a more minimalistic and app-friendly approach. Mobile game icons and app store banners focus on simplicity and immediate visual recognition, catering to the on-the-go gamers. The modern age of game box art reflects the ever-changing landscape of gaming. It's a testament to the adaptability and resilience of this unique art form. Throughout the history of gaming, certain game box art has transcended its role as a mere cover and achieved legendary status. These iconic designs not only represented the games within, but left a mark on the gaming culture. Consider Heretic. The shareware box art left gamers stunned by what they were about to experience. Heretic was one of the first games to dive into the dark fantasy FPS genre, and the box art helped with the storytelling before you even started playing the game. Then there's Mega Man, a series known for its captivating box art. Each installment featured dynamic poses of the Blue Bomber, sparking the imaginations of players worldwide. Monkey Island brought point-and-click storytelling to a new level. Its fantastic box art conveyed that there was epic adventures and captivating storytelling just waiting for you to explore. In the modern age, The Last of Us redefined storytelling in gaming. Its box art depicting Joel and Ellie against a stark, apocalyptic backdrop conveyed the emotional journey within. These iconic game box art designs have played a pivotal role in shaping gaming culture. They've inspired fan art, cosplay, and even influenced the direction of game development. While game box art has been celebrated for its artistic achievements, it has not been without its share of challenges and controversies. Consider Manhunt. Its gameplay and box art were depicted as a murder simulation and would end up being very controversial. The game ended up being banned in Australia. Then there's Gotcha for the Atari. This simple game was essentially a game of tag, but the box art depicted a man chasing after a young woman. As you can imagine, that didn't go down very well. Barbarian, the Ultimate Warrior, was another game that had backlash for its box art. The box art had a bikini model posing alongside a male model wearing only a loincloth. The game would end up being banned in Germany, but that was because of the violence in the game. As we stand at the crossroads of gaming's future, we turn our gaze toward the future of game box art. What lies ahead for this enduring art form in an ever-evolving gaming industry? As the industry is moving away from physical games, it's likely that box art will live on through digital storefronts. While the gaming industry continues to transform, one thing remains constant: the enduring importance of box art. It's a critical element in defining a game's identity and setting the stage for the player's experience. The future of game box art holds the promise of diversity, innovation, and a continued celebration of the artistic spirit within the gaming community. As we bring our journey through the history of game box art to a close, it's time to reflect on the lasting artistic legacy of this unique form of expression. From the minimalist charm of Pac-Man to the bold adventure of Super Mario Bros., the early days of game box art laid the foundation for what was to come. The 16-bit era and the multimedia era brought us iconic character-driven art and cinematic storytelling that resonated with players around the world. The modern age of gaming has ushered in a new era of diversity and innovation in game box art, showcasing its endurance and adaptability. Game box art is not just a marketing tool, it's an art form that has left a mark on gaming culture. It's inspired fan art, cosplay, and artistic appreciation. As we reflect on the past, embrace the present, and look towards the future, we recognise the enduring legacy of game box art in this world of gaming. Our journey through the history of game box art may be coming to an end, but the artistic spirit of this medium will continue to captivate and inspire gamers and creators alike. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more, please consider subscribing to my channel for more nostalgic content, focused mainly on games and toys from the late 80s, 90s, and early 2000s.